From pro players destroying people's belongings to fans ruthlessly stealing clubs during a round. These are the 10 most ridiculous moments in golf history. And first, we start with number 10. We're at the 2021 World Golf Championships match play, and Tony Finau is about to have a moment that defies all logic and leaves golf fans scratching their heads. So, here's what happened. Tony's approach shot on the 13th hole looked perfect, setting him up for a prime birdie chance. He walks up confidently, reads the green, and makes up his stand to sink it in. With one smooth stroke, the ball rolls perfectly toward the hole, until, barely inches away, it veers off at the last second, resting right on the edge of the cup. Everyone is waiting for the ball to drop. But then, as Tony steps up, something bizarre happens. He lines up for what should be the simplest finish of his round. He's cautious, moving slowly, eyeing that ball like he's trying to will it into the hole. Then, as he positions himself, his shadow falls over the ball. For a second, it's just stillness, like the ball's frozen in time. And then, out of nowhere, it's as if the ball got some kind of invisible push. The ball drops right in, seemingly obeying Tony's shadow like it's got a mind of its own. Fans start buzzing, calling it the shadow trick, and theories go wild. Was it a supernatural connection? Some hidden golf power? Well, if Tony really does have shadow control, that's one skill you can't practice on the driving range. This brings us to another skill you can definitely practice on a golf course. Here's number 9. It was during the 2015 Memorial Tournament on the 15th tee when Rory McIlroy found himself at the center of a moment that had nothing to do with his golf swing. Rory had just taken his shot, a clean drive that had everyone's eyes locked on the ball. But as he walked over to wait for his playing partner to hit, something, or rather, someone, stole the show. Near the tee stood a blonde woman, later identified as model Ashley Bongiovanni, who seemed to have her sights set entirely on Rory himself. She was more focused on getting his attention than on the game, adjusting her hair, fixing her gaze, and throwing in a touch of dramatic flair as if hoping Rory would notice her among the crowd. And it didn't stop there. Her efforts were so intense, they seemed almost scripted for TV. And TV certainly took notice. The cameras caught every second, broadcasting her playful attempts to connect with McIlroy to millions. Fans speculated about her motives, commentators cracked jokes, and social media went wild with the Rory crush moment. And as if to keep the fun going, Rory himself added fuel to the fire, giving her a follow on Twitter. Sneaky bastard. Coming in at number 8, and we're in 2008 during an exhibition match in Las Vegas. Professional golfer Natalie Gulbis was about to make an entrance that would become one of the most talked about moments in golf. Known for her powerful game and charismatic personality, Gulbis decided to make a grand entrance that looked straight out of a Hollywood movie. As the event was about to kick off, all eyes were on the fairway, awaiting Gulbis's arrival. But then, a faint sound in the distance turned heads upward. The noise grew louder, capturing everyone's attention, until suddenly, it was clear. A helicopter was descending onto the course. As it touched down gracefully, out stepped Gulbis herself, waving to the cheering crowd with the confidence and style of a Hollywood star. The crowd loved it, but traditionalists weren't so thrilled. Many in the golf community criticized her entrance, calling it too Hollywood and saying it clashed with the sport's reserved, refined image. They argued that such grandstanding overshadowed golf's true spirit: skill, patience, and calm. Whether you loved it or hated it, one thing's for sure: Natalie didn't just show up, she arrived. So did number 7 on the list of most ridiculous golf moments, and this one is very rare. It was the opening round of the 2024 U.S. Women's Open at Lancaster Country Club, and for EC Gabsa, everything seemed set for just another day of golf. But on the par 3 12th hole, as she lined up her tee shot, fate had a different plan. What happened next was a 1 in a trillion moment that left fans and commentators absolutely speechless. Here's the shocker. Gabsa steadied herself, took her swing, and watched as the ball took off with perfect form, soaring towards the green. The crowd followed the ball's arc in quiet anticipation, until something utterly improbable happened. Out of nowhere, a bird swooped across the fairway, seemingly appearing in slow motion, and collided directly with Gabsa's ball. The ball struck the bird mid-flight, sending it spiraling down to the ground, leaving the entire course silent. Captured live on television, the moment immediately drew comparisons to Randy Johnson's infamous 2001 baseball pitch that met the same fateful end for an unsuspecting bird. Talk about bad timing. That poor bird definitely picked the wrong moment for a flyby. Next, we fly to number 6, and now we're in 2008 at the Australian Open. John Daly is under immense pressure, frustrated, and fighting his way through a challenging round. But on the 9th hole, that frustration would explode in a way no one saw coming. This wasn't just a bad day on the course, it was about to become one of the most shocking moments of his career. Daly had just hit a rough tee shot on the 9th, pushing it wide toward a thick patch of trees. As he approached his ball, the crowd was murmuring. You could feel the tension in the air. Fans lined the ropes, watching closely as Daly prepared to salvage his position. But then, as Daly steadied himself, a spectator named Brad Clegg decided it was the perfect time for a close-up photo. Clegg moved in until he was practically breathing down Daly's neck, the camera lens a mere 6 inches from his face. The click was relentless, breaking the silence, punctuating Daly's frustration. And then, without a word, Daly turned, grabbed the camera, and smashed the camera against the trunk with all the force of his swing. The crack of shattered glass and plastic filled the air, leaving the crowd stunned and the fans speechless. Pieces of the camera lay scattered at Daly's feet, the remains of a $1,000 piece of equipment. Looking the stunned fan dead in the eyes, Daly didn't apologize. Instead, he coolly said, "You want it back? I'll buy you a new one." Well, if you're thinking of getting a close-up shot of Daly, maybe it's best to keep a safe distance, unless you're ready to see your camera turn into confetti. And we're halfway through at number 5. But this one is forever marked in the history of golf. It's 2024, just hours before the second round of the PGA Championship, and one golfer's championship run has taken an absolute shocking turn. This wasn't just a rough start to the morning, it was a full-blown legal crisis that no one saw coming. As dawn broke over Louisville, Kentucky, the morning traffic around Valhalla was especially thick. A tragic accident had occurred near the entrance. A shuttle bus had struck a pedestrian, causing a standstill and a surge of police activity. Right in the middle of it all was Scottie Scheffler, world number 1 and a favorite for the tournament. He was running short on time, weaving his way through the congestion in a bid to get to the course. But as he tried to navigate the chaotic scene, tensions started to rise. Police were directing traffic, but Scheffler, desperate to stay on schedule, allegedly ignored an officer's instruction, sparking a confrontation. That confrontation quickly escalated, culminating in a stunning twist. Scheffler was accused of assaulting the officer, leading to his arrest on charges that included second-degree assault, reckless driving, and criminal mischief. Within minutes, the golf world was buzzing with the news. Would he even make it to the second round? Incredibly, Scheffler was released just in time, racing to the course with barely hours to spare. And instead of letting the ordeal shake him, he shot an impressive 5-under par 66, holding his place near the top of the leaderboard. A big misunderstanding or not, Scheffler showed everyone that nothing could stand in the way of his game. Up next, number 4. We're at the 2018 Evian Championship, and players were about to face a distraction so bizarre and unexpected, it left fans and officials in absolute shock. So, what happened? As golfers like Nelly Korda and Amy Olsen lined up their putts in the intense final round, an unusual glare began to flicker across the green. At first, players squinted and shook it off, assuming it was just the bright sunlight. But the glare persisted, strategically catching their eyes at the worst possible moments. They soon realized this was no accident. In the crowd, a spectator was angling a small mirror to reflect sunlight directly into their line of sight. The timing was perfect. Right as players were about to putt, the flash would strike, breaking their concentration in the cruelest way. Soon, it became clear, this wasn't an accident. In the crowd, a fan was deliberately angling a small mirror to send blinding rays directly into their eyes. The timing was brutal. Right as putters were drawn back, the flash would strike, shattering their focus in the most ruthless way imaginable. The tactic was as bold as it was shameless. Korda and Olsen, visibly frustrated, tried to regain focus while officials rushed to identify the culprit. It wasn't long before security stepped in, escorting the disruptive fan off the course. Looks like golf isn't just a game of patience, it's a game of dodging shady fans with mirrors. And yes, you've made it to the top 3, and it keeps getting more ridiculous. But since you've made it this far, please subscribe to support us. It keeps the channel alive. All right. It was the second round of the 2021 Scottish Open, and everything seemed set for a day of top-tier golf at the Renaissance Club in North Berwick. As Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, and Justin Thomas were preparing to tee off on the 10th hole, no one could have predicted the bizarre scene that was about to unfold right in front of them. Here's what happened. As McIlroy set his focus on the shot, a fan emerged from the crowd and quietly approached McIlroy's golf bag. No one was quite sure what this guy was up to, but he moved with a purpose, as if he was just another member of the group. He reached straight for McIlroy's driver, seemingly trying to lift it out of the bag in one smooth motion, but it was stuck. After a few awkward tugs, he managed to only pull off the head cover. Undeterred, he paused, looked around, and then coolly switched tactics, grabbing an iron instead. At this point, McIlroy, Rahm, and Thomas noticed what was going on, their expressions shifting from mild confusion to a mix of shock, amusement, and utter disbelief. Realizing he'd been caught, the fan played it off like he wasn't trying to swipe the club at all. Instead, he held the iron up, gripped it like he was about to play his own round, and even started doing a few practice swings, trying to act as if he was just one of the guys. The whole tee box watched, stunned, as this bold intruder casually pretended to be part of the game. Security quickly stepped in, taking the man by the arm and leading him away from the tee, while the crowd murmured in disbelief. Turns out, taking practice swings with Rory's clubs isn't exactly the best way to fit in. Coming in hot at number 2. The final round of the 2024 Travelers Championship at TPC River Highlands was meant to be an incredible showdown, with Scottie Scheffler and Tom Kim battling it out for the win. But, as they closed in on the 18th green, something totally unexpected stopped them in their tracks. Picture this: you're watching your favorite players rounding up their round, and then suddenly, a commotion erupted from the sidelines. Out of nowhere, a group of 6 protesters suddenly stormed the 18th green, catching everyone by surprise. But they didn't just run onto the course, they came prepared. Smoke canisters exploded, filling the air with thick colored smoke as they scattered a strange powdery substance across the green. Fans and players alike stood frozen, watching in shock as the protesters, dressed in shirts that read, "No golf on a dead planet," turned the quiet green into the scene of a full-blown protest. The once serene fairway looked more like a chaotic rally, all under the banner of environmental activism. Scheffler and Kim, visibly rattled, backed off, watching as security rushed in to take control. And control was exactly what they needed. These protesters weren't going anywhere without a fight. Security officers took swift action, tackling a few of the activists to the ground as smoke swirled around them, turning the green into a scene of pure chaos. And finally, we are at number 1. It was the 1998 Bay Hill Invitational, and John Daly was about to tackle the par 5 6th hole, a challenge that's taken down many players. But for Daly, easy peasy, you would say. Daly, known for his fearless play, stepped up to the 6th hole with one goal in mind: reaching the green in 2 strokes. He took aim, swung hard, and splash, found water. His second shot, water. Third shot? Oh, yep, that's water again. Most players might have reconsidered their approach, but not Daly. So, he pulled out another ball, and another, and another. Each time, the ball veered into the water with an almost cruel consistency. But then, with his 13th attempt, he finally cleared the water. The crowd erupted with a mix of relief and disbelief, but by now, the damage was done. When he finally finished, his score for that single hole had reached an unbelievable 18 strokes. An 18 on a par 5. Fans were speechless, witnessing a moment so rare it was almost impossible to believe. After the round, Daly spoke to reporters explaining, "I had the courage to keep going for it, but I didn't have the wisdom to bail outright." As it turns out, Daly was really living on the edge with only one new ball left. Oh, and now you're here. We have another great video for you right in the middle of the screen. Enjoy.